All right, welcome to the second video in the series where we're going to be walking through the build of this Modern Sukajan jacket. We've already selected our materials in the first video, and now we want to cut this material into our pattern pieces. And I've got this checklist here of everything we need. And you can find these pattern pieces on GitHub. I'll have a link in the project page. And you can see that we're going to, for an inner and an outer shell, we're going to need basically 4 cuts of each piece. And there's 4 different patterns. So 4 of each, or actually I should say 4 of each for these 3, but then this back is folded, so it's the equivalent of 4 pieces, but it's actually folded. All right, I'm going to be laser cutting these, which is why I have a checklist. Every time I laser cut one, I mark it off the list. But you could easily just download this and then import it into Illustrator, and then sort of just re-nest it however you like. Print it out, and then cut it by hand. I like cutting it on the laser cutter because this material is synthetic and it gives a nice clean edge when you laser cut, as opposed to like when you cut with scissors. You can see you get like a lot of little fine filaments coming out. So I'm going to walk through the process of laser cutting, but you could just easily cut it. And for my laser cutter, I have each of these nested into a single panel meant for the laser cutter. That's going to be, my laser bed is 22 by 28. And if you think of this material as, if this is the roll and this is the grain, then what we need are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like this. We're going to want to cut this first one for our back that's going to be folded, and then we'll get another piece here, and then we're going to need several more of these, like so. And the way I've calculated it out is that you should be able to get one full set of pattern pieces in about 3 yards. I'm hoping that calculation is correct. But we do want to start by making sure we get this one first, the folded one. Otherwise, it's going to mess us up if we just start cutting these small ones and then we forget about the folded one. So we're going to do the folded one first. But I'm going to show you, we're going to cut it, or I say cut it, but we're going to separate these by tearing them apart the way they would do at the fabric store. All right, let's start with the white. That's the selfage there. Let's do a quick check first. So from selfage to selfage folded should be more than 28. All right, so we've got, yeah, so we're like we've got about 2 inches to spare. So even if you took the selfage off, you still have 28 inches, which is good. That's what we were expecting. But now this first cut, we want it to be this one for the back. So we're going to measure 28 times 2. We're going to fold it over. All right, and you see the guy at the store, he basically just tore this straight down the line, and that actually helps keep it straight in theory. So we're going to fold it until we get to 22. Let's see here. It's a little unwieldy. Okay, so that's folded at 22. I'm going to make a little a little cut here. And then we're just going to tear it. And then we'll trim it off with the selfage. Okay. All right. So that is 22 times 2. Okay, so now we basically have one piece that's essentially twice as wide and twice as long as we need. And we want to pull out this piece, which means we want to cut it in half. So we're going to, between these two selfages here, so we want to cut it here and then tear it. Okay. All right, so now one of these pieces is going to be for our back, and when we cut it, it's going to be folded like so on the laser cutter. So now we got our back piece. Okay, so now every other piece we cut from here on out is going to be the 28 by 22, and we're going to need 6 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this should end up being a little less than 3 yards, and we should have maybe enough extra for a couple panels in case we mess up. All right, so now we're going to do 22 inches, and I've already got it marked out on my cutting table. So 22 is here. Just check that that's the middle. Should be the middle of this. Yes. All right. All right. Okay, now we need 4 more of these. Okay, so we need 4 more, and we're going to take the remaining material we had, and this time we're going to come across, going cross grain, and we need it at 22 inches. And in this one, we can just go straight across. Okay. We still need to cut this one down the grain, but now we're going to cut one more cross grain like this, another 22 inches. Okay, you can see we have a little bit of material left over, but it's like, yeah, it's enough to do another 2 panels, which we would have as a backup. So now we've got panels like this, and we want to cut them down the middle. So we're basically going to split this down the grain, just halfway between the 2 selfage. Okay. All right, if you were cutting these by hand, you could nest this and make more efficient use of the material. But I think laser cutting is good, especially for prototyping. And we're only making one right now, one jacket. All right, same thing again. Okay. And this last one. And we still have our one that's folded, but it's as you can tell from the drawing, it's folded along the length of the grain. So it's not this shape. All right, last one. Okay. All right, so that's 6, 7, 8 plus our folded one. So that actually gives us what we need. 6 plus the folded plus 2 extra as backup in case we end up messing up the cut, or if we want to use it on another jacket. Okay. Now we'll do the same for the black, and then we take it to the laser cutter. Okay, so now I've got all my black panels, pattern pieces cut, or sorry, panels that we're going to cut the pattern pieces out of. Got the white. One thing I should note on here is that for my this example, I'm going to be doing a black body with white sleeves for the outside, and then a white body with black sleeves for the inside. If you were doing this for yourself, you may want like you could do red and blue on one side and then yellow and green on the other, and so like your pattern pieces might actually be more like this is a third color here, and then these would be like some fourth color here, right? In which case you'd probably be using just slightly less material for this, because the 3 yards does both the front and back. Okay, and I'm going to include this in the documents, but I might update this to show that like this is a primary color for one side and this is a secondary color for another side. So it might be like blue, red, yellow, green, or something like that. All right, but I'll update this, and I'll also update the how you would cut the material if you're going to do it like that. All right, next step, we're going to take these panels out to the laser cutter and then cut out the pattern pieces. All right, now we're at the laser cutter. I'm using software called Lightburn to basically load the files onto the laser, and this is where you set all of your configurations. When you download or load the DXF into Lightburn, the file is in millimeters, which is what Lightburn wants to see. Now I'm also going to I'll put the Lightburn files themselves on the repro as well, but it's good to know that the files will be in millimeters. A lot of soft goods files are in centimeters, so just so it's not confusing, this is in millimeters. All right, you notice I have 3 colors here. I have a green, a blue, and a gray. The green and the blue are the cut lines, and I've done green first, blue second, and the reason is that we want to cut our notches first before we cut the outlines of the pattern, because there's a risk if we cut out the pattern, because there's a fan in there that's sucking up the fumes. Once this is cut out, there's a chance that this piece might want to move, and we don't want that happening. So we want to do our internal cuts first, and then the external cuts. I've set it up here for the speed of 15 out of 100 and power of 20 out of 100, and that's for the satin that we're using. If you have a different laser or using a different material, you're going to want to test what these numbers should be optimized for your laser. Alright, now I've already, usually this plugs into a USB to the laser, I've already loaded that file to the panel, the internal memory of the laser. So we're going to pull that up and then we're going to cut our file. Okay, we're going to put our material in. The first thing I like to check, make sure we don't have any like extra threads hanging out, because these could catch in the mechanism, and once it catches it'll start to move your fabric around and then potentially get caught up in the belts, and then you not only ruin your material but potentially ruin your machine. So make sure there's no strings hanging around, and also because there's internal fans, even if you think that the string isn't going to do anything, the fan could just pull it up and suck it into the machine. Alright, so we're going to open up the laser, and just a reminder that this laser cutting process is not required. You can still print out the PDF and then cut it manually if you want. I just prefer it because it's good for prototyping and I have a laser, but not everyone has access to a laser. Alright, you notice we've laid it down shiny side up, and what we're going to do is we need to cut, I've loaded the front piece, we need to cut it 4 times, 2 different color materials, and then once with the face up and then once with the face down for each color. So we're going to do black first, face up, and then black face down. Alright, a couple things before we cut. We need to check the focus, which is basically the height of the laser above the surface. This machine is manually adjusting the bed up and down. If you had something like an epilogue, it would be automatic, but this is how you check the focus. And then the second step is we're going to have the laser trace the outline to make sure that our material is in the cutting space. All right, now we're going to frame it. All right, the laser moves to the extremes of the cutting space. You may want to steam the material to get it flat or flatter, but I think this is going to be okay for this cut. Alright, now we'll close the lid, we'll turn on our fans, and then we'll hit start. Right, just cutting notches first. Okay, after the notches are cut, it's now cutting the blue outline of our pattern pieces. Alright, that took about 3 minutes to cut. What I normally do is I want to carefully lift this up. If there's any place where the cut may have not gone through, you don't want to pull it because it might snag and then pull a thread and cause a run. So you want to be very careful when you lift this up to make sure that the fabric is cut through completely. Looks like we've done really well. Okay. All right, now we'll lift the pattern pieces up. It's going to be a little, could be a little stuck because this is a synthetic and you're basically melting the edges, and the melt could stick to the honeycomb. So we still want to gently pull these up. I use a little card. these are the pattern pieces for the front right hand side. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing but flipped to get the left hand side. Okay, now we'll do the same again, but we're going to do it back, sort of face down, and then on my check sheet, just to make sure that I'm keeping track of everything, we did one color face up, so just make a check of that. And now we're doing face down, same color. Also, we've got to remember to cut these. Okay, we made sure to cut all these threads, because once the fans start going, again, it could pull those threads into the mechanism, and then everything gets screwed up. All right, so we like that. We're still going to frame it again to make sure that this is all correct. Looks pretty good. Just going to flatten this out a little bit more. Okay. All right. Now we're going to close the lid, turn on the fans, and hit start. Okay. So the same thing, only now this is we've done it from with the face side down. All right. And let's make sure we check off our box that we just did that one. All right, I'm going to pull these out. Okay, so you can see now that we've got the front panels, and because we cut one face up, face down, and they're symmetric, now we have our left and our right. All right, now while we're here, while we got this file loaded, we're going to do the white ones the same, and then we'll change our pattern program to the sleeves and then to the back. All right, same process again, only this time we're doing the white satin. Okay. Okay, so that's the white with the face up. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing, but with face down, and then we'll do this piece and this piece, and then when we get to the back, because it's folded, I'm gonna do all this, and we'll come back to this because we're gonna do something slightly different. All right. Okay, so we've done all of these panels, and we're going to start doing the back. Now, the back is going to be folded, right? So I'm doing the face side up. I've already marked or cut a line with tape for where the fold is going to be. And what we want to do is we want to tape our folded fabric on that line. And this is not going to be cut once we run it, but we need it to be lined up on that fold line. Okay, so we're gonna tape this to the fold line first. Okay, now because this is a synthetic, when we laser cut it, it's going to want to bond to itself. So we're going to put a sort of release paper between the two layers, and this will prevent during cutting, it'll prevent the layers from sticking to each other. And if they end up sticking to each other, what's going to happen is it'll start to pull threads when you try to separate it. So it's not something good to have happen. So we're going to put this paper in there, get this lined up, and then we'll pull this down and then we'll cut. Okay, we have our material in there. Again, it's folded with release paper in between. We're going to frame it. Alright, looks good. You can see how the laser's going across that top cut line because the cuts go all the way up to that line. Alright, we're ready to cut. Also note here, I've doubled my power because we're going through 2 layers of fabric, so it's 1540 instead of 1520. Okay, it's finished cutting. Now, again, we want to be careful when we separate these, because if there's any place where they're attached, it's going to want to pull threads. And we also want to make sure we've got both sides, which it looks like we did. Okay. There might be a little bit of a connection here. We're going to have to probably cut. Alright. The rest of these look good. Alright. I'm going to take this out, and then we're going to do the same thing, but with the white. Alright, we did the white as well. And alright, that looks good. Alright, now we're going to take this out, take it back to our cutting table, and we'll see what we got. Okay, now we have all of our pieces, all of our pattern pieces off the laser. We can kind of get a sense of what this is going to start to look like now. So for the white chest pieces, front and back, we're going to have these heat press artwork on the left and the right. So, and this is what the sleeves are going to look like, and there's going to be a white stripe on the sleeve with the white panel. And this is the front. Then the back is going to be similarly heat pressed. It's going to be this artwork here, and with the red knit for the collar and the trim. And now for when we flip it, when we reverse it, it's going to be black body with white sleeves and a black stripe. So white sleeves, black stripe. So it's going to look more like this. And then this is going to be reversed too. So it'll be gold, black stripe, white sleeve. And we got our climbing tiger embroidery on the front for the left and right. And then for the back, it's going to be the large tiger embroidery patch on the back. Alright, that's it for this video. The next video, we're going to start probably sewing up the sleeves, and then probably doing a little quilting of the sleeves as well. We'll start the quilting process. Alright, stay tuned for that, and thank you for watching.